Kia ora and welcome to this workshop. So this workshop we're going to be discussing tarot decks and oracle decks, the difference between the two, why I use a certain deck for certain messages, the energy associated with them, and I guess the power that's within these divination tools, but also the power that's within you that extends out to these divination tools. I felt because I'm going to be doing deck reviews, I should start on discussing the difference between the two, why I use the two, the power that's within them, and this is what's kind of birthed through this workshop. So let's start with the tarot because I feel there's a big misconception around tarot decks, and to me, and why I like using them, is they are a powerful tool to harness. And this is more the shadow aspect associated with them. And that's also oracle decks that contain shadow aspects, which I will show some later on, some examples of the oracle decks that have the shadow aspect within them. But our shadow is a powerful tool that we can use. It's not something that we need to deny. It's not something that we need to suppress. We need to embody it and have it live in harmony, have balance with both our shadow and our light, because we are shadow and light. All things contain shadow and light, and that's duality and polarity. But that's a whole nother workshop. So let's start with our shadow decks. Why I like to use shadow decks is an opportunity to birth through a message for us to navigate change, growth, healing, and that's kind of where the message comes forth. When I'm using an oracle deck, it's more anchored in really positive, uplifting messages. And yes, we need that. Okay, but we need to find where the block is. We need to find what needs energy directed to it for us to be able to welcome more abundance and growth and healing. And when I started this journey, I really felt like you needed to be loved 24/7 and light 24/7. And as I've grown and evolved, obviously that perspective's changed and I know within myself and from my messages from my spiritual team that I am shadow and light. It's okay to have the days that we feel low or blocked or down. That's part of the human experience, but that's where the tarot can come in, or the shadow aspect cards can come in to help us navigate that and find what that is so we can shine light on it. So yeah, it's a very powerful tool to be used. It can it can birth through really confrontational messages. It can, I guess, when I'm tuning into someone, when I'm reading them, you can feel into the energy. Are they needing these messages, or are they ready to receive such messages, or is it more kind of an oracle deck that we need to use for this reading? But me, when I'm reading for myself, I'd like to see what could be blocking me, what could I direct energy to help navigate, what could be in the shadows that's consuming my light or keeping me in a dark space. So I do like to incorporate both when I'm doing readings for myself. If someone comes through for a reading and they want those messages, they want to find what the blocks are, they want to grow, heal, and evolve, then yes, I will bring in that shadow aspect deck. But then I will go into the oracle after that. So what happens, it's quite a layered subject, but what happens when we are reading an individual or reading ourselves, it again comes down to your intention. Before I read for someone or open space for myself, I ask for messages that are anchored in my highest timeline and my greatest good. Always for myself, whoever I'm reading, I always ask for messages for their highest time and greatest good, and messages anchored in divine love. Yes, a shadow aspect might come through, but it is anchored in divine love and it is for your greatest good. Okay, so it is the intention behind why you're using those cards and what you want to gain from the reading itself. When we're tuning in to energy or readings, it's hard because they show me it is just infinite potentials. We always are presented with infinite potentials. Everything is a potential. Okay, there's opportunities anywhere, and that is the most beautiful thing, that everything is a potential. Everything. So when you're tapping into an energy, you have to tune into the timeline that's for their greatest good and highest, their highest timeline, greatest good. So when I've set that intention, that's the timeline that they're going to birth through to me and show me. Okay, but it all comes down, when we pass a reading on, it all comes down to the choices that you make to get there. So I could get a shadow message. It could come through about limiting self-belief. It's time to work on empowerment. It's time to work on empowering the mind, learning to have your mind live in harmony with your wairua, your soul. And it's up to you when we pass these messages on, or it's up to me if I'm reading for myself, to actually put action behind them. And that's what's going to birth through our highest timeline. But again, everything is a potential. We're tapping into that timeline, that energy right there in that moment when I'm reading you or reading for myself. I could go out tomorrow and make a choice that's going to switch that whole potential or that whole timeline completely. But when you do go to a reader, or you do get a reading done for yourself, the screen turns off, so we just got to move the mouse. If you are reading for yourself, so always set that intention that you want messages and guidance associated with or anchored in your highest timeline and greatest good. Okay, messages anchored in divine love and divine light. And yes, if we're working with the tarot deck or the shadow aspect deck, messages or guidance might come through that might feel shadow, but it's for you to birth through healing and growth and remove that block and navigate that and heal. It's come forth for a reason. So yeah. Shadow decks can be a powerful tool, essentially, okay? But then so can oracle decks. Like I mentioned, I do start with the tarot to get those blocks, to find what could be keeping you in a certain situation or certain mindset or certain energy, and then how can we navigate through that, and what will happen. The oracle deck essentially is showing me the timeline that will happen if changes are made and the guidance is followed. But it's human free will. You get to choose. You get to choose what direction you go in. You get to choose what timeline you want to birth through. You get to choose the energy you want to welcome. And it all starts with your choice, okay? Your actions within the mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, your perspectives, and then your physical actions. So it's a really powerful journey. And with mediumship itself, that's a whole nother journey. Essentially, mediumship, to me, and the mediumship readings I've done, is more so a healing. It's something that aids in our hearing from our loved ones that have passed over. Yes, they could bring through messages that will help us navigate to our highest timeline, but even just hearing or getting confirmations or hearing messages from them aids massively in our ability to heal. And then that again is going to birth through another timeline, because you're healing and you're growing. And mediumship too is something that's quite powerful, because it is also breaking down the barriers and the subconscious programming that is not real. It is showing that there is life after just the physical pain. It is showing that there is more than just the physical pain. It is showing that everything is energy, and our energy continues after the physical pain. So it's a very powerful thing within itself too, mediumship. But you can use oracle cards and tarot cards for mediumship readings. Essentially, all readings can be anchored in mediumship, whether you're speaking to a loved one of that individual or of yourself or their spiritual team. You're still connecting with energy outside of just the physical, okay? Beings outside of just the physical. So it's very powerful, and I absolutely love it. Sometimes I didn't. Now when I do readings, sometimes I don't even need an oracle deck or a tarot deck. It's simply just the messages coming through, because all they are is an extension of your intuition, extension of you tuning into energy and passing those messages through. Yes, it can be almost a telephone line or a tool to use to pass messages on from those in spirit and Te Wairua. But it is an extension of you, of your energy. You're tapping into that yourself, and these are just kind of tools to aid that. So it is powerful, and I love them. And yeah, sometimes I don't need to use them when I'm reading, but for me and how I've experienced it myself is if I'm giving someone a reading and I'll tune into the energy first, I always do that first. I tune into their energy and give them messages about their current reality, and then that and within myself and my spiritual team and those in Te Wairoa helps settle the energy of the person receiving it, seeing that I am tuning into them, I am feeling into their energy, getting the confirmations and things like that. And then I'll go into opening space for messages anchored in their highest timeline and greatest good. And sometimes I'll pass the messages on, especially if it's video call, pass the messages on, and then I'll pull a card. It actually happens in writtens as well, but video call, it's more kind of in your face so you can see it. Shuffle a deck, and the exact message that I just relayed, the card comes out, and it's a confirmation, and it also helps that person receive that message, because the cards come out, there's no way, maybe there is, but you know what I mean? There's no way that I could have manipulated the deck physically for that card to jump out and to relay the exact message that I had physically, verbally passed to them prior to that card coming out. So it is a really, really powerful experience. And yeah, there are divination tools that can be used for higher timelines and lower timelines. That it is all the intent behind why we use these tools. Okay, but I'll show you some decks just so you can... I'm trying to think if I covered everything. I think so. We'll show you some decks. So this one here is an oldie, but it is one of my favorites. I have a microphone on, so I'm hoping it's not going to get muffled when I'm bend down. An oldie but a goodie, one of my favorites. It's, you can tell the box is really used because I've had this since I started my journey. A deck that I do highly, highly recommend. The Psychic Tarot Oracle deck by John Holland. Okay, it is, to me, got the shadow and the light aspect. It's got the really kind of straight out the gut answers, really direct guidance. And I think I use this deck at nearly every reading, to be honest. It is something that I always reach for. It's got a great booklet with everything in there, the card meanings. And if you're reading for yourself, you can always just go to the book. That's what I did a lot in the beginning, is I'd pull a card for myself and go to the book for the guidance of what's associated with that card. Cardstock's great. They did used to have a combination. Obviously very used cards, so I do love them. And they have the chakra cards in here too, which I love in reading. So when a chakra card can come out, that can, to me, either mean that, obviously I have to tune into that message a little bit more, but it can mean that chakra is either blocked or overactive. Okay, and if it comes out, okay, your throat chakra, you need to be speaking your truth more with love. You need to be saying no. You need to be setting boundaries. You need to be saying what your needs are. You need to voice what you need from a relationship or a person. So that's why the chakra cards are also, I love using in readings as well. Third eye, for example, I feel there's been a lot of negative thoughts come in. It's almost like overthinking, and the negative aspects or the negative potentials are consuming you, which is going to birth through that timeline. Okay, so you need to be focusing on the timeline or the energy you want to welcome, not directing energy to what you don't want to welcome. Okay, so, and learning to quiet the mind. This can also be learning to quiet the mind, or the third eye, you're seeing a lot of signs. So then the card comes out and I'll tune into it more, dive into it more of what is associated with that. And that's where I'm tuning into the energy, the highest timeline, and that's my highest self, my spiritual team, all those great things. Now let's find a shadow aspect card so I can... Suffering in silence. So if this card was to come out, I can see, I'd tune into it and I can see, okay, you're actually going through a lot right now, and I feel like you don't have someone there to communicate with. You don't have someone to offload to speak to. You're bottling everything up. I can feel it within you, and then I'll dive into the energetic body. I can feel you're holding things within yourself that need to be released, that need to be faced, that need to be loved. Another shadow. It kind of just goes on the third eye card we just discussed, but the mental conflict. Again, there could be a situation that... What are they showing me with this one? yeah, what they show me is with, there could be you're working on something or empowerment or development, and then the old programs and the old systems are coming through and making you doubt yourself, and they're creeping in. And again, very normal, we're only human, but that shows you keep doing it. keep focusing on strengthening the mind and empowering yourself. It's got also the light cards, victory and success, so that could be direct to a situation. What will happen if they direct energy to the shadow aspect? This card could come out. Beautiful, thank you. Deception and envy. This doesn't necessarily need to come out for romantic relationships. This could come out, and it has come out a lot in the past, as work environments. There could be jealousy within the work environment, and how can we navigate through that? Heartache and loss. I mean, that one really speaks for itself. If that one comes out, I know the situation that's going on. So this has got conflict and defeat. This has got that real shadow aspect, but also the real beautiful light aspect, the new beginnings. Oh, just really bad at holding the harmony. So there is the light aspect. That's why I love this deck, because it has both. Okay, so the Psychic Tarot, highly recommend as one of the decks to have in your collection. Okay, and then we go into, let's go into the Shadow Aspect deck. Sorry if it's picking up when I move, it's the microphone. Heal Yourself cards. Now, this deck also has that shadow aspect, and with its internal shadow aspect, the internal aspect to be able to heal. Speaks for itself. Procrastination. What are you putting off? What are you saying, I'll start tomorrow? Is it a business aspect? Is it your health? Is it your tinana? Is it your mental health? Is it reading? Is it better habits and rituals? It's time to navigate through the procrastination and to put action behind your intentions. So having that shadow aspect, like I said, allows us to find those blocks. I really don't want to go too long on this workshop, so I'm trying to you're sitting in for like an hour listening to this. What else have we got here? Rejection. Another shadow aspect card. Has rejection in the past made you cautious to put yourself forward for positions or relationships or connections? Has rejection, and usually this does show me this when I go into the timelines, that rejections played a huge role in your ability to believe in yourself, to put yourself forward for things. So again, we've found something that could be directed energy to, a block that you need, that you could, again, all comes down to human free will, choose to direct energy to grow, heal, and evolve. Okay, so it's, again, a great tool that can be harnessed. Self-sabotage. Okay, we discussed that before. It's almost like you have these old programs and these old cycles that are repeating themselves, and you're almost self-sabotaging yourself, because it all does. A lot of the shadow aspect is, it is our choice. Are we staying in relationships that no longer serve us? Are we repeating cycles that do not serve us? Are we fueling our tinana with things that simply don't empower it? Are we getting enough sleep? Are we in a job we hate? Are we choosing to stay there? It all comes down to choice. And that's why the shadow aspect cards are a great tool for that. So it's that real kind of like, okay, I need to make changes. But then it's also that confirmation from the oracle aspect of what could happen, or what could be birthed through if you direct energy to these shadow aspects and to these blocks and these wounds. Okay, and then we've got light deck. Let me find a light deck. Actually, this deck, try not to crunch the microphone. This deck I've actually, and this one too, these decks I have so many decks, so I will eventually get to doing reviews on them. This deck I've had for a very long time as well, and the Crystal Medicine Oracle. So to me, the messages in this deck are a lot more light anchored. Okay, and what I love about this deck is the book. So I use this deck actually to read for myself a lot, and because it has in here your ceremony, so what you could perform within a ceremony for yourself. Okay, but they're very much a light aspect deck, I would say personally. Unconditional love, truth and integrity, crystal blessing, self-mastery, teacher, sacred healing. So there's definitely beautiful cards, and the actual cards themselves are just very, very beautiful. Is that a message for us? Self-mastery, yep, what we are working through now, and crystal blessings, beautiful. And normally when the crystal blessings card comes out, that to me is a spirit guide. So whenever I pull that card, a spirit guide tends to come forward for that person that I'm reading for. So it is a really beautiful experience. So yeah, they're simply tools to use for reading energy, tuning into timelines, passing messages on from yourself to someone else. But I just love having that shadow aspect deck. Yes, like the cards, for example, the tarot decks. I do have a lot of tarot decks as well. This is the Starseeker Tarot. The tarot decks, this is absolutely beautiful. I might actually do a review of this deck because I absolutely love a proper review. You can't really see the cards. On a tarot deck, if you were to get the death card, again, that can be really confrontational for some people, but when you actually dive into the message associated with the death card, it's death of an old, outdated program system, a death of an old relationship, death of old cycles, death of limiting self-belief, for example. That just seems to be coming through a lot right now. So it's a death of these to birth through transformation. So yes, it can be like, oh my god, but I personally, I've never had the death card come out that it is actually associated with death of the physical. It's always more associated with death of a system, a cycle, something that's blocking you, something that you're performing that's no longer serving you. So it is a beautiful card, yes. It can be hard, even the Tower. So when the Tower comes out in the Tower, you're like, hey, things are going to be crumbling soon. But it's all a mental perspective. It's all okay. I'm ready for things to crumble because I'm not happy. And I want change. And I want more abundance. And I want more joy. And I want these things. So yes, things do have to crumble. Yes, things do have to be removed. But that is all part of change, growth. And it all comes down to what you choose to do when these things crumble. Do you want to try and stay in these cycles, or grip on and like keep these cycles in play? Are you ready to liberate yourself and welcome that new abundant energy? What choices are you going to make to get there? So 23 minutes. Thank you if you've lasted this long. I appreciate you, but I'd love to hear your feedback on this workshop. I am looking to do more, obviously more meditations. I'm waiting for my piece to arrive that I plug into my headphones. I broke one. The other one I brought was for an old iOS, so it didn't work with my phone. So that's great, but I am waiting on a piece to arrive, and then I'll start doing some more meditations. And if there is a specific deck you'd like reviewed, or anything of that nature, just let me know. Okay, you can connect with me on Instagram, Ora Mystic, and if you have any questions about oracle decks or tarot decks, please just message me on there. I'd love to hear from you.